If there is one category of products that Razer is truly known for, it's their gaming mice.
Oh, indeed.
So, in this video, I finally wanted to cover their whole entire main lineup of gaming mice to see which one is the top one to get. So stick around to see this entire review so you can get a good idea on which one is for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tech Up, and in today's video I'll be going over most of Razer's notable wireless gaming mice. And my goal was to try to cover all of them, except the Viper Mini Signature Edition, which was really hard to get considering they only made a limited quantity of these mice. But to be honest with you, this one is out of its league compared to the ones that I'll be reviewing, due in part to its staggering price tag. However, down the road I possibly see myself going over it. Anyways, going back to these mice, I'll cover their build quality, features, and specs, and once again test out the sound of the switches and buttons on all of them, and I'll give you my impression on the overall grip and performance of each mouse. So in the end, you could decide which one's the perfect option. Most importantly, I'll try to go over the pros and cons on all of them, and lastly tell you which one is personally the best. Now, first and foremost, let's go over what you'd be getting for all of these gaming mice. When looking at them side by side, you'll be getting a USB dongle, as well as an adapter and charging cable with almost all of them, but that depends on which mouse you get. The Razer Orochi doesn't come with a cable or adapter, but it will come with a USB dongle and a AA battery. Aside from this mouse, the Viper and Deathadder mice come with additional grips, and the Naga Pro will come with 3 magnetically swappable side plates, which I'll go into detail in just a bit. But let's really start with the build quality of all of these gaming mice. When trying them out, most of them have that same matte plastic texture finish, and the only one out of these that had a smooth matte finish on its shell was the Razer Naga Pro, making it less grippier than the others. Now speaking of grip, there are several mice with additional side grips like the Basilisk and Naga Pro, and they certainly are great with the coverage in these areas, where it's needed. As for the rest of the build quality on these mice, they're pretty solid and really don't creak. However, there is one that has a flaw with its build quality, and it's the Orochi, where the side buttons can easily be activated when pressure is applied on the side. But considering it's the smallest and cheapest one out of all of these, it's not a surprise. Now, when it comes down to the design and features of these mice, there's going to be a lot of differences. Starting off with the Razer Orochi mouse, it's a small lightweight travel mouse that would most likely be used to game with on the go, and it's the most basic mouse out of all of these.
You basic.
The mouse consists of mechanical switches and a standard scroll wheel with a DPI cycle button and 2 side buttons. At the bottom, you got good PTFE feet coverage and the ability to switch between hyperspeed wireless and Bluetooth. Lastly, this mouse will need to be powered by a AA battery, but you can also use a AAA battery, which is pretty neat with Razer giving you the different battery option if you don't have one but the other. As for the Razer Viper V3 Pro, it's a full-size gaming mouse unlike the Orochi. It's an ultra lightweight gaming mouse that offers optical switches and a grippy scroll wheel as well as 2 side buttons. The bottom of it has the DPI cycle button that's combined with the power button, and when looking at this mouse and comparing it to the Deathadder V3 Pro, they both have the exact same features with optical switches, 2 side buttons, and the same layout at the bottom of it. But the design, battery, and weight will be different, and I'll cover the specs between them in just a bit. Essentially, the Viper has a much lower profile design and is ambidextrous, while the Deathadder is only a right-handed mouse, and it's got a larger hump to it. Now, turning our attention to the Razer Basilisk V3 Pro, this is a top-tier right-handed wireless gaming mouse with more customization and features than the last 3. It includes 2 optical switches and a DPI cycle button, along with a scroll wheel that features hyper-scrolling with tilt, which the last 3 that I went over didn't offer. On top of that, you get 3 side buttons on this mouse, and when looking at the bottom of it, you'll see that the mouse features Bluetooth and hyperspeed wireless. It also has a profile button located at the bottom, and there is a compartment for the USB dongle. But the bottom cover doesn't only serve the purpose for this, as it's meant to be used for a wireless charging puck that can be attached at the bottom of it for wireless charging, which will be separate or part of a bundle if you decide to get it. As for the last mouse, the Razer Naga Pro is the most customizable and modular gaming mouse in this whole review. Just like most of the others, it features the same optical switches with a scroll wheel that doesn't offer hyper scrolling, but packs the option to tilt the scroll wheel. Furthermore, it has DPI cycling buttons on top, and when looking at the bottom of it, you get the same features like on the others, with it being capable of offering Bluetooth and hyperspeed wireless, as well as a profile button. Now with this mouse, you'll have the ability to charge it with a charging dock, but that's sold separately, and the Naga V3 Pro, which is the newer version, includes the ability to use the new wireless charging puck instead of this older dock. Aside from that, this Naga packs a micro USB port, unlike the USB Type-C on the newer one. But besides that, there's not any significant changes to the design and features. However, where this mouse truly stands out from the rest that I've mentioned is the 3 swappable side plates that it comes with. One side plate is perfect for FPS gaming, where it consists of 2 side buttons. Then there's a 6-sided button plate that's ideal for MOBA style gaming, and the third option is a 12 button plate that's great for MMO games. Considering there are so many options to modify this mouse to your preference when gaming or using it for productivity, it's hard to pass it up as one of the best Razer mice. But I'll cover everything that's good and bad about it pretty soon. Lastly, before I start going over the more important details and experiences I had with these mice, I wanted to provide a rundown of the specs for them to give you a better idea on what you'll need to know about each mouse and what you'll be getting out of them. Needless to say, I'm certain we all look into the specs first before we start to see which one we want to get. But here's a rundown of what the main differences are between these mice. Alright, now onto the real test, starting off with the sound of the switches and buttons on these mice. From these tests, there's going to be notable differences, and of course, before you decide on seeing what each is like, you definitely want to hear how they sound. So here are the sounds of all the switches and buttons on these mice. So now that you got to hear each mouse, the one that sounded really crisp and offered a higher pitch for the left and right click was the Basilisk to me, followed by the Viper V2 and Naga Pro. The two that I thought had soft and low sounding clicks were the Orochi followed by the Deathadder. Overall, I thought the Basilisk had the best buttons, and it felt like there was almost no pre-travel. The one that I personally consider my least favorite was the Deathadder, since I noticed a lot more pre-travel compared to the rest, and it just didn't feel that great overall. As for the grip on these mice, I tested the 3 common ones, and with my hands, the perfect palm grip mouse turned out to be the Basilisk and Deathadder, as they offer the best designs for it, followed by the Viper and Naga Pro. As for the worst, it was the Orochi, because it's a small mouse and you gotta have small hands to have a good palm grip on it, or it will be unsuitable. When it came down to the fingertip grip, I thought all of these were great grips, but the Basilisk and the Viper stood out the best, and the rest turned out pretty good, but I couldn't say there was one that felt the worst when using this grip. Last but not least, the claw grip was the best on the Viper and then the Deathadder mouse, in my opinion, as there was a good amount of space for my index and middle finger on them, followed by the Basilisk, which offered a good grip, and the worst ones were the Naga Pro and the Orochi, as they felt uncomfortable or too small. Okay, so now you're wondering, with the sound and grip of these mice tested, how did they all perform when gaming on them? Well, it varied a lot. Starting with the Razer Orochi, I realized this wasn't a mouse that I would use with my PC setup, since it's really meant for gaming on the go with a laptop, and I don't game as much on my laptop, but in terms of quality, features, and grip, it lacks in all those areas. Anyways, there are definitely way better mice out there in this size than this one, like the Logitech G305 that I tested out in my last mouse review right up here. As for the Viper V2, with this mouse being one of the lightest out of all of these for its size, it certainly felt the best when playing competitive FPS games. It was great for any grip, and the tape that's provided for them definitely offer an even better grip, but you can purchase grip tapes separately for most of these mice anyways. Also, the side buttons are easy and nice to access, but I felt like the Deathadder side buttons were slightly better since they are much wider and bigger to reach. However, I didn't enjoy the left and right switches, as well as a scroll wheel on it, which I thought was more round and definitely higher than the one on the Viper. Overall, the Deathadder is essentially trying to be the Viper V2 that's mainly designed for those palm grippers out there. Now, if you're looking for another palm grip and solid finger grip mouse, like mentioned earlier, the Basilisk really stood out. It felt great when playing FPS shooters with it, and the sniper button is perfect when using it. But if you're a constant palm gripper with this mouse, you will eventually notice that the sniper button does get in the way of the grip, and it could be annoying since it's not a removable button, like on a Logitech G502X, which I've been primarily using lately. So that's one con, but if you adjust to a fingertip grip, you won't have to deal with the button being in your way. Last but not least, the Razer Naga Pro was the best modular and versatile mouse out of all of these for different games with its 3 swappable side plates. For MMO and MOBA gaming, this mouse was perfect, and those buttons on the 6 and 12 button plate are a lot better when using them compared to other similar MMO and MOBA mice. With the others, you get that thocky sound, but with these, you get a crisp click, which I'm a fan of. Overall, I would say it's an ideal mouse for MOBA and MMO games with the plethora of side buttons, but when it comes down to the weight and grip, it's a major factor when using it for FPS games. For that reason, it's the worst in terms of performance when playing fast-paced shooters, in my experience. In the end, Razer offers a vast amount of options in gaming mice, and I hope from this video you got to see which one would be perfect for you. Clearly, most of these have their own unique features and designs that are intended for different gamers. Therefore, there are many differences, and it's hard to say this is the best mouse. But when it comes down to the best grip and overall performance, in my opinion, the Viper V2 and Basilisk are the best. However, I'd say I'm not someone who uses the claw grip, but I'm more of a palm and fingertip grip type of person, so for those grips, I would have to go with the Basilisk. And I'm not surprised that this one was the best in my opinion, since it resembles the G502X the most, and I like that mouse a lot. However, the Naga Pro could have been the best if it just offered a better grip and less weight. They really should shave off or take off this design and make it as light as the Viper V2 with a grip similar to the Basilisk or Viper mouse. If there was something like that from Razer, you'd have the best of all worlds in a gaming mouse with the features that the Naga Pro already possesses. Anyways, what mouse are you guys planning on getting? Let me know down in the comments below, and I do have a list for the pricing on each of them with links, so feel free to check that out in the description. Like always, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more of this content, and thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys back here for the next one.